Well, joining me now for more is Plaid Cymru's Treasury spokesman, Jonathan Edwards. Good evening.
Good evening.
Do you see then the Conservative Party as a friend to ordinary working class people?
Well, I think today was the day that the mythical Tory long-term economic plan turned into a short-term economic scramble. And the reason of that, of course, was the revised OBR projections, not least in terms of revised economic growth, but also the revised fiscal gap, as you mentioned earlier, of around £122 billion. Now, that's a serious hit for the public finances, obviously. But more worryingly, I think, is in terms of the job prospects of ordinary working people and, of course, their financial well-being. And especially when we factor in some of the projections for inflation in the economy over the medium term. That's going to have a huge impact upon disposable income and be a significant hit for economic growth in the UK, of course, because the UK economy, regrettably, is so reliant upon consumer spending.
Can you blame all this on past and present government fiscal policies? Surely Brexit is to blame. After all, Philip Hammond did recognise the fact that Britain is set to be the fastest growing major economy in the world this year.
Well, I think there's been two disastrous Tory economic and political policies over the last 6 years. Firstly, the very severe austerity programme that they undertook from 2010. We were supposed to have finished and reduced the deficit completely by 2015. It now looks as if deficit reduction and austerity will have to continue for long into the next decade. And of course, the decision on Brexit. And that's why we've had these revised figures. What was staggering in light of what the OBR are saying, and let's be honest about it, the OBR are perhaps some of the most optimistic in terms of forecasters. It'd be very interesting what they say this time come the budget in March. There was nothing from the Chancellor on where the UK government stands in terms of membership of the single market and the customs union, and that will do nothing for business confidence.
What does today's statement, though, say about the Welsh economy? Surely pledges for increased infrastructure spending, something that, of course, has actually been applauded by Labour today. That's going to benefit the entire UK, isn't it, including the Welsh economy?
Well, that was just banner consequences on UK spend. But, you know, if you were serious about a meaningful fiscal intervention, you know, we've been calling for a number of years now for infrastructure investment to go back to what it was prior to the great crash in 2008. Now that would equate to around 1% of GDP extra. That's around 20 billion across the UK per annum, 1 billion for Wales. What we saw today was about 20 billion across the 5-year forecasting period. Now, to put that in context, it's £400 million for Wales over the 5 years. That's about the same amount they're spending on restoring Buckingham Palace. They're going to spend £5 billion on restoring the building behind me. This is not serious. This is not a serious fiscal intervention, although obviously it's a step in the right direction.
Jonathan Edwards, live there in Westminster. Thank you very much indeed for your thoughts, comments, being with us here on RT UK. Thank you.